Welcome to my little space where heart and hook stitch up a place where we can together make a refuge safe for all our sake.
So I have a little photography tip. I am not educated in photography at all other than my own trial and error processes, but when you see nice bright sunlight like that to where it can cast a nice strong solid shadow, I find that photographing in that shadow is perfect. Now when I came out today to photograph Nana Kamala, which is my latest Nana, today's a Tuesday, so tomorrow I'll be releasing that one. I brought it out and I was distracted by these daisies that we have here. Aren't they lovely? But look, see how they're in full sun? You can see my shadow. So I photographed Nana like from this angle with the daisies beneath it in the background. And I'll show you the difference between the one with the grass in the background in the full shade versus the one in the full sunlight with the daisies in the background. And I think you can tell the difference, hopefully, because it seems pretty stark and clear to me, the difference and which one is better. And I don't think it's the daisies making the frame look busy. That might add to it, but anyway, look at our little tiny tree here. This is my daughter's Meyer lemon. Maybe at some point we'll get a lemon on that. And this is my son's peach tree. We've gotten a couple peaches on it, but the birds always get to them too soon for us to get to them. But they have some pretty blooms right now.
And I've got one package to ship today, only one. Trisha, your mouth puppet, is on the way. I have 2 completed items since we last saw each other in my previous video, and this one I've already released. This is Nana Kamala, named after Kamala Harris, and her unique embroidery is this spiral design that I did on her head and shoulders. And this is number 19, which marks 19 weeks, since finding out Trump was elected. And the one I just finished extra early because I just released Nana Kamala today. Today is Wednesday. By the time this video comes out, it will be next Tuesday, and I'll be about to release this one. So I got ahead again, and I really wanted to make a Nana in honor of Sarah McBride, Congresswoman Sarah McBride. Her grace, despite all the disgusting attacks against her, I think is beautiful. This is the first one that I actually didn't embellish with embroidery. I embellished it with an applique. So I crocheted this little flower on her. And then to talk about the process, for this one, I said I make rules for each Nana in my last video. This one, I alternated 2 yarns until I got to 6 rows of each color, and I staggered them, and then I introduced a different color, 6 rows of that one alternating for the legs and the arms and the head and the top of the body. And then for the midsection, which kind of looks like it might be a separate material, like I made it to look kind of like she's wearing something here, I did double, like 2 rows of each color, various colors. So this is working through a whole big bag of scrap yarns that I have that you've seen before spread out. I'm constantly adding to those. Anyway, I think she's awesome. Now what I'd like to show you is what I've made so far out of the yarn that I've spun. So far I've spun basically just what I could fit onto the spindle 2 times. The first time I was able to get 3 rolags on, and I don't think I had as much fiber in those 3 rolags. The second time I was able to get two probably bigger Rolags on here, and then I thread plied them. And I realize now that I skipped a step that I should have done. After you spin the yarn, when it's done, you should soak it in warm water and then thwack it. And thwacking it is basically what it sounds like. You just smack it against a surface. It kind of whacks some of the water out, and I guess it causes the fibers to kind of fuse and also fluff up. So I didn't do that. So this first item that I'm working on, I won't do that to the rest of this yarn that I'm going to finish this project with, just so it's the same. But going on, after I finish what I'm working on here, I will remember to thwack my yarn. So I wanted to show you what I came up with. I made a little glove, a little, very basic, very simple, and I used a giant crochet hook. It's a 9mm N hook, and I was able to get just the very next start of one. So this is from I don't know how many hours of yarn making this took, but once I finish the set, the pair, I will just time myself in the process of making some yarn. I will then weigh the yarn, and then I'll be able to calculate based on what I make with the yarn how much time actually went into it. Crocheting this really took very little time at all. It's almost entirely yarn making time that is the work in this, and I actually really love it. It's definitely the wildest, kind of ugliest yarn you've ever seen. It's horribly spun, but I think it's so fun. There's like all these little random bits that are sticking out, popping out, but it is a solid piece, and it's also really, really thick. Get a sense for how thick this is. And even though the yarn is really thin in places and really thick in places, this fat hook was perfect for all of it. So off camera, I've already this morning I've carded and I've basically fluffed up 2 more Rolags worth of yarn scraps. This is still that initial pile that you saw in my very first video. I'm going to keep working through this pile before I start getting to, I have another bag going now of yarn scraps that I'm intentionally cutting shorter as I go with my other projects. So for now, I will spin these 2 Rolags onto here. I think I'll get them all maybe onto here. And then I'll have you join me again for thread plying, and I'll show you how I do that. Also, stay tuned because I plan to give my little tutorial on how I crocheted this, and you would be able to use any bulky yarn and follow my instructions on how to make this very basic bulky glove that I just made up yesterday.
Hello, I'm back. I just spun those 2 Rolags, and I dare say I'm doing sort of a more delicate, refined job than my initial rolls. It's still got lots of really fat spots, but I think it's fun. So, oh god. Lint rollers are becoming my favorite thing now. There we go. I've got fuzzies in my mouth. They're just floating around everywhere. That's a hazard of this project. So now what I'll do is I'll get this off of here. I do have a ball winder, but I don't really like it. I've done this my whole life. Just rolling my own little yarn balls. And I found also the very first time I plied, I used the ball winder to roll it into a little cake. And when I did the center pull in the cake while plying it with this thread. And I realized that the center pull was unwinding this original spin. So by the time I got to the end, it had lost almost all of its twist. Unwinding the twist, I should have said probably. So I could probably rectify that a bit by using the outer edge of the cake of yarn, but I don't know, I find this just as fast and just as easy to roll it into a little ball, to get it off of the spindle, because I need to use the spindle again. And I also need easy access to this yarn. All right, so there's my little ball. All that time spent for this little ball. I don't even know how much time that was. So now this is ready to go again. Here I've got just a basic thin, what, size 10 crochet cotton thread, cotton yarn, crochet thread, I don't know what you want to call it. So far what I've done is I've just taken the strands, both strands, and just done a little knot together. Knot them at the end. I think there are various ways that people start their spindles, but I just did a little knot there. That way I could take the two strands like this and loop them under the hook at the top. So now I've learned that I need to keep this very separate from this. So I've got a bag down here that this is going to sit in as I pull from that bobbin, or whatever you want to call that. And then I'll have my ball of yarn back here in my chair behind me. So I'm starting to get, I think, my technique for this. I'm still doing the park and draft method. People who are more experienced can spin it, and they can, like, you know, control the yarn going in, whether they're plying, or the fiber going in if they're spinning, as it's actually spinning, and then continuously do it. Not me. Oh, and then the other thing, so I'm doing the park and draft. So I'm going to spin it, catch it in my legs, and then feed the fibers, or in this case, the two different parts of my ply in. The other thing you want to make sure, once again, I'm acting like I'm a teacher and I'm not a teacher, is you want to make sure that both parts that you're plying together are twisted in the same direction. This is called Z twist, because the line, here, I'll take it off of here to show you. The diagonal line goes this way, like the angle of a Z. If it goes this way, it's S, like an S. So both, and I checked my thread. That's why I've spun my first initial spin in the same direction as my thread, so that I could ply them together. So these are Z twists. I've spun them off of this leg. Now I'm going to spin them off of this leg, because that will be the opposite. I keep getting this ready and not doing it. Okay, so now I've got it kind of just hooked under there. And I have to keep both threads away from each other and away from the spinning spindle, and away from the working spinning yarn. So, okay, I'm gonna just start spinning. I'm gonna give it a few twists to get it going. Okay, so it's starting to incorporate, but now that I've got a little bit of a length there, I can pinch it right where it's separated at the top and build up some twist. Extra energy is stored in this little section. And then I kind of just try to let go somewhat evenly of both sides and see how it just wants to twist on itself. Okay, so now I need to give it more twist, or more spin. Catch it. Whoa, it's like magic, the way it just, they zip around each other. So check that out. See, there's a fat section, there's a skinny section. It's so cool. And this really makes the yarn really structured and
sturdy, strong. It's not going to fall apart. Any yarn that's a single, I don't know, single ply, what do you call this? Like there are yarns called roving, which are basically just a single strand that's twisted like this. They do fall apart somewhat easily. So this gives a lot more structure and it gives a cool texture. I don't know if you can see how it's just, the twist is just jumping. It just jumps up in here as these twist together. I've had a few mishaps where this catches into this and it gets all tangled, or these two get caught up in each other and they get all tangled. So I'm learning to be very careful about keeping all of the parts separate. Well, I almost hit my thread there with my spindle. Okay, let's see. Get a little bit more here. And now I have a lot here. This is getting too long for me, so I'm taking it off the hook and I'm gonna wind it around the spindle now. Give myself a little bit more space. Okay. Making sure that's back there, that's over there, and I'm spinning off of this leg. There's not much space there. I'm just going to give it a little bit of twist to get this going, get myself a little bit of length. So from time to time, I'm going to have to edit out my dog suddenly barking because that's what he does. He's not in the room anymore now, so people were talking in the house. Well, okay, it's just as cool watching the twist energy jump up into the two strands to ply them together as it is doing the initial twist. I wish there was a better way to show you up close. There probably is, but you know what? I'll try to show you up close right now on this next one. Okay, let's see. Can I do this more up close? Probably could see a little bit better that time. This is starting to get long though. Whoa, it just happens so fast. Okay. Okay. I think this will be enough. I hope this will be enough to finish that second glove. So I have one whole pair. If you have any other ideas for me, for what I could do with this fat irregular yarn with a really large stitch with that large hook, other than gloves like this, like I think it would work well for like a kitty cat ears hat, like those pussy hats. A bulky, sturdy hat, the ears would really stand up firm. I think that would be cool. But I like the gloves because they are such a small project. They take probably the least amount of yarn out of any other thing that I could think of using this yarn for. And that would be good because it takes so long just to make the yarn. And I don't know if anybody in my shop will want to buy these gloves, but I think they're really cool. And And if I'm going to try to sell anything made from this material, that is, so it's yarn scraps. So yes, it's a free, the ingredients I have are free. The raw materials are just like waste product, right? Oh no, it came apart. My initial twist came apart. So here's what I've been doing when that happens is I just hold it together, kind of overlapping, and I twist it more. I give it a bunch more twist, and then I kind of just let it twist on itself, and usually it kind of, the string, the thread kind of binds it again, and that worked. So as I was saying, even though the yarn scraps are free, it's expensive in terms of time spent making it. So factoring that in, I would figure out a price. And I think the fact that it's a recycled, reused material that I'm doing, I think that that has value. And I think that my Etsy customers would think so too. There's even a new tab on Etsy that says that where a seller can indicate whether something is repurposed or reused or upcycled. So that's what this is, that's for sure. And I feel like, I don't know, if this is something that that possibly could sell, items made from this material, I could probably keep up with my yarn scraps. It just depends. It just depends. Or I just like make a blanket for myself. Ah, and it came apart again. See, I think as I untwist this ball of yarn, unroll it to put into here, it just loses some of its twist sometimes. Also because I'm twisting, I'm spinning now in the opposite direction. So it is kind of forcing this initial twist to kind of untwist as I go. So I have to be really gentle with it to try not to have it come apart. To try to just let it feed itself into here without really pulling on it. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I think that's so cool. I know, I want to show you guys something different every video, so I'm not necessarily going to continue to show you the same process each time. Now I've shown you a couple times of doing the original spinning, and now I'm showing you the plying. But I don't want my videos to get boring and repetitive. Whoa. So we'll keep coming up with all sorts of things to talk about and to show. I want to do a tutorial maybe in one of these videos, maybe this one, maybe the next one, of how I did the gloves. So I'll probably finish this set of gloves. I can tell this wants to come apart again, so I'm going to be very careful and just let the thread go around it. And that was great. That was great. We got through it. This is so cool looking. Right there, it's like really tiny. Okay. I think it was a little blurry there for you. And now I'm always paranoid. Is my mic on? It is. I mean, why not experiment and come up with new ideas when I have a break in orders? I've had now a week with very few orders, just sold a few patterns, like one mouth puppet. I've shipped off one mouth puppet this week. That's all. The last several weeks I've had a bunch of items to ship out each week. I just had my strand again fall apart right here. I'm hoping this will twist back on itself. Whoa. All right, that was a little wild. But that's fine. We're going for not perfection here. Where's the fun in perfect, right? Now I'll probably just stop talking so I can speed up the rest of this video while you watch me finish it. I'll give you another little story time. When I was 9 years old, we had family friends that would babysit me and my brother. The mom's name is Dawn Kane, and she taught me the very basic stitches during just a few times that she babysat us. I've never been able to find her on social media, though I've tried. I'd love to show her what I've done with my crochet. At the time when she had just taught me single crochet and, of course, chain, I started making Barbie clothes, mainly tube dresses for my Barbies. I still have a little plastic red hook she gave me. Next, I thought I'd tell you a little about my experiments in trying to sell in person, because mainly now, really only now, I sell online. But as a little bit of a lead into this, when I was really little, my parents had a folk music band that played in the San Diego area. They had met folk dancing. There's a folk music and dance camp that used to be called Lark in the Morning, and now it's simply known as Lark Camp. I mentioned it in the last video. It's held up in the Mendocino woodlands every summer, and my parents had brought me once when I was only 10 months old. Well, in the summer of 2019, I attended with them as an adult, and it was lots of fun. I participated mostly in the Swedish music workshop with my violin, but that camp always has a swap meet day, and I had brought along all my stock of crocheted items. I actually was so successful, I sold enough to pay myself back for the cost of the camp. It's a bit on the pricey side, so that says a lot. In the summer of 2021, my dad tipped me off to a new possibility since I had done so well at Lark Camp. I thought I'd give it a go at Tesoro Viejo Farmers / Makers Market. It was a new community that had just launched a market, and they were initially offering sellers to come sell for no fee. So I bought myself a pop-up and some dress forms for display, and I think I only did the market 3 times, but it was over 100-degree temperatures, and I was just miserable. I really just don't handle extreme weather well. Plus, I didn't sell anything except to another seller there, just a single necklace. She ended up becoming sort of a regular customer, which was awesome. But that's kind of a side note. The difference was the types of people who go to Lark versus the types of people walking around a regular local market. The Larkies really are looking for more unique artisan type things, and they tend to be people who are also quite artsy themselves. The best thing to come of the Tesoro Viejo venture was the knowledge that my items are best marketed online to the world rather than in a little local market. And so now I just focus my efforts on things like my photography, my Etsy shop, and my social media marketing, and now this channel. But I also got a great new customer in that other vendor who continues to get in touch with me from time to time to order something. On your right here, you'll see the bit of yarn that was left over after I finished making that last glove. And I went ahead and soaked it, thwacked it, and dried it. And I'm trying to show you the difference here between this new big bundle of yarn that I just made that hasn't been finished yet. So I'm going to soak this one in warm water, and then you can come outside and see how I thwack it. I had only alluded to the fact that my Etsy shop had taken a dive in 2021 in the previous video. I may have said 2020, but it was 2021, like mid 2021. Basically, my shop had gotten inundated with inauguration Bernie doll orders when he went viral at Biden's inauguration in 2021. And what happened was I took a lot of pre-orders, but I was in communication with all of my customers, so they all knew it was going to be a few months before they got their dolls. And I was shipping out a whole bunch every week, whittling it down because I had gotten like 200 to 300 doll orders within just a few hours. Anywho, Etsy decided to force my shop into vacation mode, which at the time I thought was fine. It just means that nobody can make any more purchases until you whittle down getting those orders shipped out. However, once I got that lifted because I got the orders shipped out enough, my shop was crickets after that. And I didn't connect it at all to the vacation mode at the time. I just thought, for whatever reason, it's not working right now. But at the time I was also doing homeschooling and I was putting a lot of effort into that and focus and had to do a lot of time in that. So I didn't really give much thought to my shop being slow. That being said, it was slow for a long time. And then I think it was 2022 when people, Etsy sellers were doing an Etsy strike or boycott, since we're not technically workers for Etsy, over the raising of the fees that they were doing again. So I went ahead and joined that. I also put my shop on vacation mode like everybody else did. And I turned it back on again after the strike. And my shop was horribly silent and still in crickets after that, even more so than the first time. I found out that going in vacation mode kills your SEO, search engine optimization. So if you're an Etsy seller and you want your shop to keep whatever you've gotten working in your shop for the algorithm working, don't ever put your shop on vacation mode. It will kill it. It will be like you're starting from scratch and you've never made a sale ever. So that's what I've been building back up since 2022. And we're now 2025, and my shop is now earning much closer to what I was making at my peak, but it's still not quite there yet. I know I'll make it. Because my spinning skills improved over time, the second glove ended up being a little smaller than the first because a lot of the yarn ended up being a little bit finer. So if anybody's interested in these, I could list them in my shop. Otherwise, this awkward pair could be mine. All right. Well, I just brought this in from the sun. It's all dry now. And this is a batch that I just finished spinning and plying. And I've got it tied together here in 3 spots. I'm ready to go soak this. And I was about to dunk it in water, but I wanted to show you the difference. Now, I wrapped both of these around my arm here and my thumb. So they are the same length around. And look how much shorter this one looks. That's just because the best word I can think for this yarn before it's been soaked in warm water and thwacked and dried is that it's angsty. This one that is finished properly feels luxurious. It feels finished. It feels like a yarn you would buy and just start using, like an art yarn. This one feels like it's got all this pent up angst. So, that first pair of gloves I made with angsty yarn, probably not the best way to go about it, but they are gloves and they exist. But going forward, I will always be doing the finishing process with my yarns so that they are relaxed, chill, ready to hang and be cool and watch movies rather than being balled up in their bed, riddled with social anxiety. Pictured here on the left is the ball of yarn that I most recently made. This batch took 133 minutes and I ended up with 19 grams of yarn total. So that ends up being 7 minutes per gram to make. And then the center ball shown here was the previous one that I spent 143 minutes on and I got 27 grams. Yeah, I didn't spend as long per gram making this, only 5.3 minutes per gram. However, I think I was more meticulous about brushing out the scraps for the most recent one. So I'll probably time a few more batches and get kind of an average price in my time per gram.
Come on, cow. Hello. I know you want to be friends, but it's time to go. Bye.
Okay, so I thought I'd give you a tutorial on the gloves that I made with my yarn. I'm using a 9mm hook and the yarn that I've made from my yarn scraps. You're going to start with a chain of 16, and for these gloves with this yarn, the way I've been making it now that I've gotten a little bit more refined, I'm liking to crochet with a slightly tight tension. I adjust my tension based on the projects that I'm making. However, for the starting chain, I loosen it up just a tad. So you can adjust the stitch counts to your needs, but I'm chaining 16. And at this point, you can check to see that it fits around your hand. If you want to adjust the size of these and you don't want to change the stitch count from what I've done, you can either change the size of your hook or adjust your tension to your needs. Make sure that you're not twisting your chain and you will slip stitch to the very first chain. you'll be working in the round only now, and I will be doing double crochets. So I like to do a chain 2 and then the first double crochet in the exact same spot where that slip stitch join is. So the chain 2 is not counting as a double crochet stitch. So you will do 16 total double crochets all the way around and then slip stitch back to the first double crochet. That is round 1. And now let's speed up the video until we get caught up to where we're going to start row 2. All right, I'm joining you again here where I'm doing a slip stitch to the very first double crochet of that first round. Of course, you can go ahead and pause the video whenever you need to. At this point, you can do another double check to make sure it fits around your hand up above your thumb. Now, we'll do another chain 2, do another double crochet as your first double crochet in the same stitch you just slip stitched into for your first double crochet. And then so you're going to do a total of 6 double crochets, including that first one we just did. Then you will do a chain 4. You will skip 4 stitches in the row below, and then you will continue with the last 6 double crochets in the last 6 stitches and finish that row with a join with a slip stitch on the first double crochet of that row. We'll meet you at the next row. All right, here we are finishing row 2 with a slip stitch to the first double crochet. And now I'm doing a chain 2 up to begin my 3rd row, but look, I've run out of yarn. So what I've been doing with this yarn is when I need to tie on more, because it's so big and lumpy, I'm not even bothering to try to weave in the ends. I always like to knot my ends together. What I'm doing with this yarn is I'm crocheting until I have just a little bit left, and then I take my new strand, I add it in, I hold a little length on the back of my work, which will be the inside of the glove, and I continue stitching a little bit. So now I've got the 2 ends, and then what I do is I just tie them together in a square knot, and I trim the ends with a little bit of length sticking out, and I'm not even bothering to weave in these ends because I don't want to, and because they're so kind of lumpy and awkward. I do, however, weave in the starting strand and the ending strand because those are just not easy to hide. These really hide just fine, in my opinion, because there are little bits of scrap yarn that are sticking out all over the place throughout the entire thing anyway. And this is going to be on the inside of the glove. Nobody's going to notice it. So for row 3, same thing, chain 2 up. You're going to start your first double crochet in the same spot you did your slip stitch join, and you will do 6 double crochets. When you get to the chain, you're going to do a double crochet decrease in the first 2 chains and a second double crochet decrease in the 3rd and 4th chains. Then you will do 6 more double crochets to finish that row and join with a slip stitch. So that is a total of 14 stitches for row 3. We'll meet you back at row 4. While recording this, I forgot to do the decreases, so I had to undo a few stitches. Here I'm joining that 3rd round with a slip stitch, and I'm about to try the glove on to show that at this point you should be seeing that it's fitting you and getting slimmer past your thumb. All right, so rows 4 and 5 are the same. You're just going to do 14 stitches, 14 double crochets around and join each row. Just like before, you're going to do a chain 2 up that doesn't count as a double crochet for each round, and you're going to finish each round with a slip stitch. And that's it. Fasten off, and I didn't show it here, but you can use a needle to weave in the first and the ending ends of yarn, and then make another one. Exactly the same. You don't have to change anything from right to left hand. Also, apologies for using the words row and round interchangeably. I just use those words interchangeably in my mind. One of the best low-carb copycat recipes that I've ever done, and really you don't have to follow the exact recipe. I got the idea from Maria Emmerich. She has what she calls her protein noodle lasagna. You can find her recipe for free online. She also has cookbooks. But basically, the idea is that you can do your meaty lasagna and just substitute the noodles for deli sliced chicken or turkey. I think chicken works best. It has the most bland, neutral flavor, and it's amazing. I've tricked people into thinking it was really regular lasagna, not on purpose. They just forgot that I said what it was. And my partner made it here in a Dutch oven, which is amazing to me. Crochet hooks and colors bright, crafting wonders day and night. Join the fun, come see it through. Subscribe and I'll create for you.